Begin the Gemara today on Daf Chav Tes Amud Beis, 3 lines from the bottom of the Amud where it says Yosef Rab Oven. Talk to Gemara. Yosef Rab Oven v'Rab Yitzchak beRabbi Kamed Rab Yirmiyah. These two Amirayim were sitting in front of Rab Yirmiyah, v'kamenamnem Rab Yirmiyah, and Rab Yirmiyah himself was dozing off. Yosvi v'Ka'amri, and they both sat and said the following halacha, or they learned out the following halacha. Lebar Pada Da'ama. According to Bar Pada's opinion, that said. So let me remind you what Bar Pada said. Bar Pada was going on the Mishnah that was speaking about a person that made the neder, and he said regarding a tree that this tree should be hektish, the value of it will be hektish until it gets cut down. What did he mean by this? So Bar Pada says that he meant to say that even if he's going to redeem it sometime before it got cut down, automatically the hektish of it will get reactivated. He meant to say that I might redeem it, but it doesn't matter. I'm now making a neder that when I redeem it, the hektish should be reactivated. So as many times as I'll try to redeem it, it's not going to help because automatically the neder will reactivate the kedusha. So now, from Rabbi Pada we could learn the Omar. Rabbi Pada said, Padon, if before he cut down this tree, chayzreis v'kaychais, the kedusha of his neder will automatically get reinstated. So tivshoit the bayir avayshia. If so, we should be able to resolve a question that Rav Aishia asked regarding Kedushin. Hanaisin shtei prutas lisha. So the question of Rav Aishia was, we're on Daf Lamed Amud Aleph, a person that gives 2 prutas to a woman. Va'amala, and he says to her, Ba'achas, I'm giving you 1 pruta, hiskachli ayayim, that you'll marry me today. Ba'achas, and with the other next pruta, he only needs 1 for the marriage today. So why is he giving her 2? So he's saying with the other pruta that I'm giving you, I'm making up with you now that you'll be married to me after I divorce you. So does this work or not? Hachanami dahave kiddushi. So you can learn out from here that this will be a good kiddushin. How could you learn out from here? Very simple. The comparison is that just like over here was saying that this person is making a neder to be makdish this tree. And right now, he didn't redeem it yet. But the neder that he makes today will make it not only hektish now, but it will also work to make it hektish for after he redeems it. That then the hektish will be reinstated. Same thing over here. He's marrying this wife now. He's being mekadosh her today. And when he gives her a second pruta, he not only can marry her today, but it also works that if he divorces her, a second kedushin will take effect with the pruta that he gave her now. Just to explain a little bit, what's the basis of this whole question? Why was Rav Hoshia questioning whether a person could do this? Because this is based on the concept of a davar shaloi ba la'olam. How could you do something? How could you be mekadesh isha or be makdish something for hektish when the situation that you are intending to be makdish it or be mekadesh it doesn't exist yet? You didn't divorce her yet. So you're talking about something that will happen in the future. So therefore maybe you can't do this. Or on the other hand, possibly you could say that you have the power now, you're here, and you have the power now to be mekadesh this or to be makdish. So you have that power to say that it belongs to you when you're going to redeem it. What's going to happen to this behemoth? It's going to go back to you. So therefore you have the power now to say that when it gets redeemed, so I have the power now to be makdish it again. And we could say the same thing regarding the Isha, that he has the power to be mekadesher. So therefore he's going to be mekadesher now for the future after he divorces her. That's what we could learn out. So after they said this, they made this comparison. So Rabbi Yirmiyah, that seemingly he was dozing off and he wasn't really listening, but Isser Behu, he woke up. This idea they said woke him up. Isser Bu Rabbi Yirmiyah, and Amaluhu, Rabbi Yirmiyah says it's not the same thing. You can't compare a person being makdish, this tree, and saying that it should be hektish even after he redeems it, to this case of being mekadesh isha and saying she should be mekadeshes after she gets divorced. How could you compare a situation where a person is makdish something, makdish a behemoth or whatever it may be, and he himself goes ahead and redeems it, and he makes up in advance that if I redeem it, it should become hektish again. That's one case. Or to a situation where you were makdish a behemoth, someone else came along and redeemed that behemoth from hektish. It went completely out of your possession. It's not the same thing. And this is what Rabbi Yechanan said, regarding the halacha that Bar Pada said, right? Bar Pada said that if you make a neder and you make up that until it gets cut off, it should be hektish, which means that even if it gets redeemed, the hektish should be reactivated again. Padanhu chayzres v'kedushais. If you were the one that actually redeemed this tree that you were makdish, so then the kedusha gets reinstated again because of the neder you made. Why is that? Because when you yourself redeemed it, it didn't leave your possession. You were the one that are making the neder now, and you yourself are redeeming it. It's going back to you, so therefore that original neder has the power to be makdish it again. But how about if somebody else goes ahead and redeems it? So now it left your possession altogether. Somebody else redeemed it. So now it's out of your control, out of your possession. So now even if that person that redeemed it gave it back to you as a gift, and now you should have the power to be makdish it again. But you're not going to be able to say that from the original time when I made the neder, that automatically that original neder that I made, that the kedusha should be reinstated when somebody else redeems it. Because when someone else redeems it, it's out of your possession altogether. It's out of your control. So how could you make a neder with a condition that the kedusha should become reinstated when it's out of your control? So like Gemara concludes, what Rabbi Yirmiyah said is, V'isha kapadua acherim damya. A woman that you're being mekadesh, and you're telling her if she gets divorced, she should be mekudeshes again with the second pruta. It's like other people that redeemed the hektish and it's out of your possession. What's the reason? Because this woman, once she becomes divorced, she enters into her own possession. She has nothing to do with you. Once she's divorced, she's separated from you altogether. Uh-huh. So how do you have the power to say today that I'm giving you a second pruta, that when you get divorced and you go back into your own possession, into your own control, that you're going to be mekadesh her again? She left your possession. You don't have, by the hektish, if you're the one that's redeeming it, it's going back to you. It's not going back to anyone else. It's never leaving your possession. So therefore today you could say that I'm being makdish this, including when it comes back to me, I'll be makdish it. But not by Anisha. She goes back to herself. Okay, that's the simple pshat of the Gemara here. But here there's a very famous Ran, because it's not so pashut. Because when this person says this to the woman, that he's going to give her 2 prutis, and he wants her to be married today, and then also to be married a second time if he divorces her. So he has her consent for both of them. It's between the two of them. It's not just him that's involved there. When he's making this condition and telling her, I'm being mekadesh you twice, for today and for later, isn't she involved right now? Doesn't he have her consent right now? So just like by hektish, when it doesn't leave your possession, if you're the one that redeems it, we can say that you have the power to be makdish it again. Why shouldn't we say the same thing over here regarding the marriage of the Ish and the Isha if they're both involved? And she's agreeing, she's saying, yeah, when I get divorced, I'm agreeing to a second marriage to you.
Or I give you now and saying for 30 days later.
30 days later is easier to understand because that's something that's just a matter of time. Over here, what we're discussing is something that's going to happen later, Gedishin, which is le'bala olam b'chlal, which doesn't exist b'chlal. It's a new thing that's going to happen. He's going to divorce her. But the question is, the Gemara is making a distinction between it coming back to your possession or it going to someone else. Someone else is redeeming it. L'chayre, by the kedushin of Isha and Isha, they're both involved, and therefore, between the two of them, they can make up that she's going to be married again to him after the Gedishin. So here you have a very famous Ran, where the Ran explains how marriage works, even though the Isha is involved, but she's really not involved. The halacha by a marriage is that Isha could only get married if she has her das, with her consent. You can't marry her against her will. That's the halacha of Kedusha. At the same time, though, by Kedushin, the Torah says, Ki yikach ish Isha. Ki yikach means the man is the one that's doing the entire act of the acquisition of Kedushin. The Isha is not involved. So what does it mean that you need the das of the Isha? So the Ran says it's not an active involvement, but it's sort of more of a passive involvement. The Isha has to be mevatel herself. She has to nullify herself and declare herself ownerless so that her husband should be able to go and take her and marry her. But she's not actively involved in this marriage. And this is a very famous Ran. Isha is mafker herself. Her das, her consent in Kedushin is just to be mafka herself so that the husband now could go ahead and do the entire act of marrying her, which is kiyikach ish, completely the man doing this. If so, says the Ran, if the husband is the only one that's really doing this marriage and she's not active at all, so when she gets divorced and she goes back into her own possession, so we can't say that between the two of them we made up in the beginning that they together agreed that she should be married again. She is not involved in the actual Kiddushin in an active way. She's just involved passively. And therefore, once she gets back into her own possession, it's out of the husband's control. The husband, which is the one that's doing the entire Ma'aseh Kedushin, it's out of his control. And therefore, he can't be Mekadosh her now, and also be Mekadosh her later when she gets divorced and she's in her own possession. So therefore, the Gemara compares this to Padua Acherim, just like when another person goes and redeems from Hektish and it leaves your control, so too when a woman gets divorced, she goes back into her own possession, and she was not the one that was actively involved in the Kedushin in the first place. On the other hand, though, the Ran does say she is involved passively. It's not like she's not involved at all. She is involved passively. She does have to be mevatler herself. And therefore, it's not exactly like Padua Acherim, because on the other hand, you could ask on our Gemara, if the Gemara here is saying that this is exactly like Padua Acherim, so why wouldn't the Gemara resolve this Iboya of Rabbi Shia and say that Kedushin is like the Hektish where someone else redeemed it and it's out of your control, and therefore for sure you can't be Makdish it again? The Gemara should say the same thing regarding Kedushin. The reason why by Kedushin this remains a Shaila and it's not resolved is because it's somewhere in between. On one hand, the woman is not involved, and therefore when she gets divorced, she goes back to herself, and the husband cannot make such a condition in advance. On the other hand, she is, to some degree, involved. She is at least passively involved. We do need her consent, at least in the passive fashion, that she's mafka herself, and therefore it's not exactly like Padua Acherim, where a complete stranger comes and is going to redeem your hektish. It has nothing to do with you, so for sure over there, it leaves your control, and you can't make a neder in such a way, to be makdish it like that. And the Gemara brings that there's a other Amirayim that said this as well. Itmenami, we learned as well. Omer Rab Ami, Omer Rab Yechanan. Leishanu el shapadanhu. This whole halacha here that was said that a person that was makdish this tree, and he said until it gets cut, and then even after he redeems it, the kedusha gets reinstated again. That's only if he redeemed it, never left his control. Aval padam acherim. If others came and redeemed this, so now it's out of your control. Ein chayzes for kedusha. So then the kedusha will not get reinstated again, like Rabbi Yechanan said. Okay, we continue now Mishnah, which begins a few Mishnayos here in this Perek that will discuss the same subject, and this is all based on the idea which the Gemara will say at the end of the Gemara we'll learn today, that when it comes to Nedarim, Halecha Chaloshim B'nei Adam, you have to follow the language, the way people speak, in order to understand what a person meant with the language that he used in a Neder. So the Gemara is going to go through the Mishnah, and the Gemara is going to go through different kinds of languages that people use in a Neder to try to understand what the person really meant. Person says, I make a neder not to have any anah from people that go down to the sea, that travel on the sea. So he's not allowed to have anah from those people that travel overseas, but people that are living on dry land and don't travel, for them he's allowed to have anah from. He didn't include them. But however, in the reverse, if a person says that I will not have any anah from people that live on dry land, asur miyardei ayam, he still will also be, his neder will also take effect from those that are traveling overseas. Why is that? Because people that travel overseas are also included in people that live on dry land. Even the people that travel overseas are not remaining on the water forever. They're coming back onto the dry land. So therefore they're included in his neder. Now the Mishnah clarifies, who are we talking about when it says here people that are traveling overseas? We're not talking about people that take a short ride on a boat just going from Akka to Yafei. We're talking over here about people that are traveling overseas. Lefarish means traveling far overseas. Now the Gemara right here will clarify regarding what is the Mishnah making this distinction, regarding what is the Mishnah saying here, that we're talking about people that go far overseas. So there was an argument between these two Amirayim. Chad Masni Aresha. One of them said that the last point of the Mishnah is clarifying the pshat of the Reisha of the Mishnah. V'chad Masni Aseifa. And another opinion was that it's coming to clarify the pshat in the Seifa, as the Gemara will explain right now. Mandatani Aresha, the one that said that it's coming to clarify the Reisha of the Mishnah. So Masni Hachi. He learned and understood the Mishnah as follows. The first halacha the Mishnah says, you made a neder not to have enough people to go down traveling in the sea. You're allowed to have enough from people that live on dry land, that don't travel. Now what do you understand from the Mishnah? But the people that are traveling, so that was what your neder is, so for them, you also have enough from. On this, the Mishnah came to clarify which yardei ayam. It's not, your neder will not include those people that travel a very short distance from Akka to Yafai, because the Halei Yeshvei Yabashaninu. These are people that live on dry land. They're just taking a very short trip to get from one location to another, from Akka to Yafai. Rather, the person, when he made the neder, Yerde Hayam means people that travel far. So this is, in other words, the Mishnah at the end is saying a leniency regarding the Reisha. Yerde Hayam only means, not only doesn't it include people that live on Yabasha and never go into the Yam, even people that just travel short distances from one location to another is also not included in Yerde Hayam. Only people that travel a long distance. The one that says that the last line of the Mishnah goes on the Sefer of the Mishnah, he learned and explained it as follows. Person that makes a neder that he won't have enough from those people that travel on the dry, that are living on the land, on dry land. So the Mishnah said, he's even also of those people that travel, because eventually they also have to come up to dry land. And on this, the Mishnah clarifies and actually tells you a stringency. When I'm telling you that people that travel overseas, they're included in the people that live on dry land, I'm not only referring to those people that travel a short distance from Akka to Yafai, even those people that travel a long distance overseas, nevertheless, they're also included in the expression of people that live on dry land. Even those people that travel far, eventually they have to come back up onto dry land, and therefore it's included in this neder. Person makes a neder, I will not have enough from those people that see the sun. So this seems like it's only people that are able to see. But nevertheless, this expression will include also people that are blind. With this expression of roye yachame, what did this person mean? He meant to include all those people and all those entities that the sun reaches them, that the ray of the sun reaches them, not people that see the sun. And the Gemara explains here why that is. The Gemara, my time, why do we interpret his neder this way? Why did he add the words chama? What significance does the sun have here? If he's trying to make a neder only from people that have vision and not people that are blind, he should have just said, my neder is minarayin, from people that can see. So why is he saying miraya yachama? Raya chama really means people that the sun sees them. Now, who did he try to exclude with this expression of his neder? Lafuke dogim vobrim. So this excludes the fish that are underwater and the rays of the sun don't reach them, or obrim, the fetuses that are in pregnancy, that the rays of the sun that does not reach them either. Person makes a neder, and the expression he uses is from those people that have a black head, which basically means people that have black hair, right? But nevertheless, the Mishnah says, Asa bekarchen, he will also be asa to have a na of people that are bald and don't have any hair, and also bali sevas, and he'll actually be asa even from those people that have white hair. They don't have black hair. You might think that when he said black head, it refers to young people. That's what his neder was. It says no, it's also from people that are bald and people that have white hair as well. So what did he mean? But by saying this expression of people that have black heads, that excludes women, excludes children. This expression of shcheirei harosh, what does this refer to? Ela anoshim. It only refers to men, excluding women and children. So the Gemara explains, why do we say that this neder shcheirei harosh includes also people that are bald and people that have white hair? My time, what's the reason for this? Because if a person wants to make a neder only from people that actually have hair, so he would use that term, from people that have hair. So that would exclude people that are bald. The fact that he doesn't use that expression, he uses the expression of shcheirei harosh, he must have meant to exclude something else, as the Mishnah says, to exclude the women and the children. Mm-hmm. But it includes even people that are bald, and it also, as Aran explains, also includes people that have white hair, even though they're clearly not black. But nevertheless, if it could include people that are bald, that don't have hair at all, so it's not black, so it also includes people that have white hair. There's actually a discussion in the Mefarshim, I didn't see what it says, but there is a discussion in Mefarshim whether it includes people that never had black hair, people that have lighter hair, people have that red hair, whatever it is. So that's still a question. Okay, but then the Mishnah said, Umutter benoshim or biktanim, he will be allowed, what he meant to exclude with his neder is, he will be allowed to have a na from women, from children, she'ein ikram shcheirei harosh ela anoshim, who are considered to be shcheirei harosh, which have hair, they have black hair, that's the men. Why is this? My time. Anoshim, because by men, zimnin the michzur rashayu, v'zimnin the megala rashayu. Sometimes their heads are covered, and sometimes their head is uncovered. What does the Gemara mean? So there's different pshatim in the Mefarshim. Either it could mean a person that wears a yarmulke, sometimes he's wearing his yarmulke, his head covering, and sometimes he's not. Sometimes it's allowed for a person to take off his yarmulke. Especially me'ikir adin, al pi halacha, if a person is sitting in one place, he's allowed to take off his yarmulke. In different situations, he's allowed to take off his yarmulke. Others say, what the Gemara means to say is, even if a person is wearing a yarmulke, it doesn't cover your head fully. A person wears a yarmulke, part of his head, the hair of his head is partially exposed. So part of it is covered and part of it is exposed. Aval nashim, but by women though, lo'ila michsu, they have to always cover their hair and fully cover their hair. So therefore, when you say a black head, it's not referring to a woman because the black refers to the hair. And by a woman, her hair is always covered, so therefore it's coming to exclude women. And the ketanim, the Gemara says, is also the reason they're not included in this neder is because lo'ila miglu, their head is always uncovered. So over here again, there's two pshatim in Mefarshim. Some say it means that children don't have the obligation to cover their head, b'chlal. And others say, like I said before, that a yarmulke is something that doesn't fully cover the head. Part of it is uncovered. But by a man that wears a second covering, like it says in other places, that a man, when he davens, he's supposed to wear a second covering. You wear a hat, so that pretty much covers most of the hair of the person. But whereas a child only wears a yarmulke, doesn't wear a second covering, doesn't wear a hat, so therefore he always has hair exposed, and therefore he's not included in this neder. This lashon,
It should be included.
No, because the lashon of shcheirei haroish means that there's some of the black hairs that stick out that you could see. But when it says that when it's always uncovered, it's not included. Yeah, okay. B'chlal b'neged to the din of kisi haroish. So there's two reasons why we have an obligation to wear a yarmulke. First of all, there's the simple reason, as we know, that a yarmulke is that it's covered for the Eibishter. The word yarmulke comes from Yarei Elikim, fear of Hashem. But then there's something else, the Alter Rebbe brings this in Shulchan Aruch as well, that it's a matter of tznius. Because the halacha of tznius is that any place which is dark elias mechusa, it's usually covered, so if you uncover it, it's a lack of tznius. And that's by men and women equally. And by a man, to uncover his head is a lack of tznius. This is brought in many mefarshim. Okay, Zok Eilige Mishnah. Hanaider min hayeludim. A person that makes a neder from those that were born. The term yeludim simply means that those that are already born. The Mefarish here brings the pasuk hayeludim b'midbar, those that were already born previously in the midbar. So because he says the neder of those that were born before, mutta b'nei ladim, so he'll be allowed for those that will be born later. Min han-noiladim, if he uses the expression of noiladim, which would simply mean those that will be born, so aser min hayeludim. Nevertheless, according to the Tanakama, this lashon of noiladim includes those that will be born in the future, and it'll also be aser from those that were born before. And the Gemara will explain this. Rav Meir argues, and Rav Meir is mater af biyeludim. Rav Meir says that with this lashon of neiladim, you'll be mutter also with those that were born before. Rav Meir here says af biyeludim. It sounds like Rav Meir is saying that you'll be mutter with both those that will be born and those that were born. So what does that mean? According to Rav Meir, who's going to be aser? It's not clear over here the pshat what Rav Meir is saying. The Gemara will explain. The Chachamim say, so according to most Mefarshim, Chachamim over here is not coming as a third opinion in this Mishnah. Chachamim is the Tanakama of the Mishnah, and he's just coming to clarify what the Tanakama's opinion is. Chachamim say, when a person says Minan Neiladim, right? So the Tanakama said the term Neiladim includes both people that will be born and people that were born. So what does this lashon exclude? Does it exclude anybody? Neiladim? So it says, yeah, his neder only includes those that come into the world by birth. There are those that come into the world not by birth, which the Gemara will explain what it's referring to. So therefore, anybody that comes into the world by birth, whether was born, whether will be born, will be included in the neder, like the opinion of the Tanakama. Talk to Gemara, li Rab Meir. Now, what did Rab Meir say? So according to Rab Meir's opinion, so he said that when you say the neder of noiladim, which sounds like those that will be born, so Rab Meir says, no, with this neder, you're going to be mutter, even af with those that were born. So what does that mean? V'loi mibayin eiladim. So that means that you're even going to be mutter with those that were born, and needless to say that you'll be mutter for those that will be born in the future. So ela miman aser. So when he makes this neder, he definitely intended to make a neder from somebody. So noiladim, make up your mind. If noiladim means the future, so it goes in the future. If it means people that were born in the past, it should be in the past. How could Rav Meir say that this is a kind of neder that you'll be mutter of both, of everybody, those that were born and those that will be born? Says the Gemara, Chasure Mechsere, something's missing here in the language of the Mishnah. Vachi Ketani, this is how you have to learn the Mishnah. Haneider min hayeludim. Person that makes a neder and he uses the term yeludim, which means those that were born already before. So mutter bin eiladim. So then he's mutter with those that will be born in the future. Min haneiladim, you use the expression of neiladim. So the Tanakama says the term neiladim means both. Asa bi yeludim, you'll be asa for those that will be born, and you also asa for those that were born before. Now Rav Meir comes and says, Af haneider min haneiladim. So too, when you make the neder of noiladim means that those that will be born in the future, mutter biyaludim. You will be mutter for those that were born in the past. Ki heichi the neder minayeludim mutter b'neiladim. Just like the Tanakama said that the term yeludim means those that were born in the past, and therefore it excludes those that will be born in the future. So what Rab Meir is coming to say is the same as with neiladim. Neiladim means those that will be born in the future, and therefore it excludes those that were born in the past. Amalei Rav Papa la Abaye. So Rav Papa asks Abaye about this. So the Gemara now focuses on this term of noiladim. What does noiladim mean? Lememre, shall we say? We see over here from what Rab Meir is saying. The noiladim, the misyaldon mashma. That noiladim means in the future, those that will be born. So he asks, how could that be? But Elam Yato, there's a pasuk that says that Yaakov Avinu said to Yosef, Shnei banecha noiladim locha be'eretz Mitzrayim. Your two sons that were born to me in Mitzrayim. Who was he referring to? He was referring to Ephraim and Menashe, and he's telling them that Ephraim and Menashe will be to me like Reuven and Shimon. He's talking about the two sons that were already born. So Hachanami, so are you going to say over here this Yaldanu, that he meant to say those that will be born in the future? How could he say that? He was talking about Ephraim and Menashe that were already born. So how does Rav Meir say that Noiladim means in the future? Now the Gemara asks the reverse. Ve'elamai, so what are you going to say? The alidu mashma, that the term noiladim means those that were already born in the past, like we see, like it says by Ephraim and Menashe. But elamayate, if so, I'll ask you from a different pasuk. The pasuk says, "V'hinei ben noilad lebeis David." A child will be born to the house of David. Yoshiyo Shemai, and his name will be Yoshiyo. Hachanami dahava. Does this mean that Yoshiyo was already born? Can't be. V'adai Menashe leba. Even Menashe, which was before him, was not born yet. So when it says here, Noilad, it means he will be born in the future. So now we have a problem. In the pasuk, in one place it says Noiladim, it refers to the past. And in another pasuk it says Noilad, and it refers to the future. Says the Gemara, Ela mashma'achi umashma'achi. In the lashon of the Torah, we see that Noiladim means both. It could be the past, it could be the future. When it comes to Nedarim, the rule is that we don't necessarily follow the meaning of what it means in the pasuk, but we follow what people intend by this lashon. People don't necessarily use the same lashon of the Torah. When people speak, they mean something else. And therefore, this is the machlokes between Rab Meir and the Chachamim in the Mishnah. The Chachamim in the Mishnah say that even the way people speak when they use the term Noiladim, because I find in the Torah that Noiladim means both those who were born in the past and those that will be born in the future, that's what people mean. People mean both. But Rab Meir says no, when people speak, the term Noiladim means only the future, those that will be born. Mara finishes off. So if you use the term Neiladim and it includes those that were born, those that will be born, what does it exclude? So he meant to say he'll be us only from those that come into the world by birth. Lafuke mai, what does this exclude? Lafuke dogim va'oifes. This excludes the fish and the birds. They come into the world not by birth, but with eggs that are laid, and the eggs are hatched, and that's how they're born, and therefore that's not laid. That's eggs that hatch, and therefore it's excluded from this lashon neiladim.